Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday night session of the Sports Crib. I would like to thank one and all for joining us. Don is away tonight. Mr. Jeffrey Fann will be joining us a little bit later to talk about this exciting NCAA tournament. And we'll talk a little football along the way. I see Jeffrey is already in the queue. Maybe Mr. Carroll will be joining us a little later. Reggie, how are you doing this evening? Can you hear me all right?
Always good, my friend. Always ready to make it happen. Appreciate you having me, as usual.
Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm having a little trouble with my mic tonight, but
coming through loud and clear on my end.
All right. Well, that's good. I know you had said that you weren't keeping up with the March Madness, but hey, I mean, even for someone that doesn't follow it, this has to be an exciting tournament.
I think that's what makes it the most exciting is for a person such as myself who doesn't follow it can jump in. And I think last time you had Jeff on, he said it was going to be a close tournament, and that proves to have been right. I was excited to watch from the moment he said that and have not been disappointed at all, especially with some of the upsets. You know, it's all about the upsets.
Yeah, well, Jeffrey will be on a little bit later on in the show at the half-hour mark, and he'll be talking about some of our predictions that have went horribly wrong. There's not a 1, 2, or 3 seed left in the tournament.
That's rough. That's rough for the brackets. I tell you that.
Hey, and shout out to my Aztec set right out here in San Diego State. Right
look at that. Look at. I didn't see that coming. I'll tell you that.
And no one else did either. I had them going as far as the Sweet 16, but the Final Four, I didn't even have India.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on when Jeffrey gets on the show. But baseball season is starting.
Yes,
I know you are a Atlanta Braves fan.
Absolutely.
What's in store for your Braves? I mean, they're always up there, but they just don't get the invitation to the dance.
Well, we've become so close, knocking on the door, and we have been fortunate enough to bring one home in the last few years, So I try not to get greedy as a franchise. We did bring one home recently, but we have been knocking on the doors around that, though. And I think that what I really like the most is the signing. The GMs we had great signings without breaking the bank for this upcoming season. We got some of our young core locked in for quite some time and didn't have to break the bank to do it. So I'm expecting another great season out of us. We were able to hold on to a lot of our major players last year.
How many home runs for Judge this year?
Well, if Judge, statistically speaking, I'm going to say if Judge plays, let's just say 150 games, because there seems to be a definite correlation between, of course, the amount of games he plays and the amount of runs he hits. If he plays 150, I'm going to put him at 50. His highest was the 62 that he hit last year. The last time he played 150 games before that, his highest was 50. I think 50, 52, somewhere in there, which was pretty close to that. So I'm thinking like 50 range. Now, there is an outlier of the year before. Last, I want to say he played about 148 games, but only hit 39. So I don't know. He had about as many at bats. So I'm not sure if that was just a down year. So he does have a 30 to 40 in him. And that's just a great season for anybody else. But below his numbers for sure. So I'm going to put that at around 50.
We saw two great teammates go at it in the World Baseball Classic. Assachi versus Trout for that last out. Plenty of drama there. Their teammates, however you want to write it. Is it a disappointment if the Angels don't make it to the dance this year, considering that?
I feel like it was a disappointment last year. I feel like anytime you're stockpiling that kind of talent, but at the same time, when you look around the MLB, there's teams that are loaded. With them not with baseball not having the same cap restrictions as other leagues, people are going to spend whatever. So that's why you see the Yankees spend whatever. They don't care what the ticket is on that. And the same thing with the Dodgers as well. The Dodgers will load up on you. Who do we see do it last year? I want to say we saw San Diego do it last year. I think the Padres did it last year. Was it the Padres that loaded up on some folks? I want to say it was San Diego. I got to look. You probably know that more than I would.
Yeah, San Diego did very well last year.
Yes, loaded up on some folks as well. So it's more disappointing to me if somehow they lose Ohtani, which is looking like they might do. He's on a 1-year deal. And it's looking like it might happen. Like this might be the last year. Anytime I see a player sign, because I don't think it's there. I don't think they wanted to sign the 1-year deal. I think he wanted to sign the 1-year deal. It's never a good sign for your franchise. So I think they'd be more disappointed if somehow they let Ohtani get out of there, which is looking like what's going to happen. Whether it happens this year or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't think it'll happen this year, but I think if they don't go through the dance, that there will be rumblings. So we'll see how that goes.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy because Ohtani's such a great player. It'd be crazy to see that happen.
Well, this guy.
I think Trout's locked down. I want to say Trout. I think they have Trout.
Yeah, I think they have Trout, but there is a guy over there in New York, not named Steinbrenner, that has a whole lot of money.
Yes, they're not scared to spend it.
There you go. The McDonald's game. Bronny scored 15 points on 5 threes. He had 4 assists. I think he had a few rebounds also to go along with that. But is it Bronny or is it LeBron's son? That's the question a lot of people ask about him even making to the game, even though he had a like I said, he had a decent showing. Evidently, he has a better 3-point shot than his father.
Yeah, for sure. It looks more fluent too. That thing looked effortless.
So what's your thoughts here? I mean, everybody's talking about, LeBron wants to play, at least a year with his son before he retires. But, is this, I won't say as bad as the ball situation, but do you think a lot of this is because it's Bron? Like I said, is it Bronny or is it LeBron's son?
I think it's a combination of the two, man. Like, so if he had played in this game and he had like 5 points, I would have said definitive LeBron's son. But when you can argue that he's getting the attention because he's LeBron's son, but he's not exactly doing nothing with it. Like he did go out there and have a decent showing, like you said. End of the day, if he goes to the NBA, he might just end up being just a guy. I don't know, getting 20, 25 minutes a game or something like that. He might not end up being a starter or anything like that. We don't really know. It just will be interesting to watch his development. He doesn't have LeBron's size, definitely not LeBron, but that can cast a shadow. But there's a lot of these guys who have sons that don't even make it to the league or sons that are just guys in the league. I think that's okay. You're not always going to live up to your Hall of Fame father's situation or career. But at the same time, would we be even having this conversation, James, if it wasn't for him being LeBron's son? Let's just say random guy plays in a McDonald's All-Star game and scores 15. I'm not talking about a guy in a McDonald's All-Star game unless he scores 25, 30, and he just blows us out the water on any given year. So I can say that this is a combination of the two. We're only having this conversation because this is LeBron's son, but he did do something with it, though.
Yeah, he is taking advantage of his opportunities.
Yes,
as well he should. He already has 3 NIL deals locked up, and he hasn't even stepped a foot on college.
That was coming from elementary school. Believe me, man. They were that was always headed his way.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, some sons make it, some sons don't. Is he going to be another Steph Curry? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Like you said, he lacks LeBron's size, so he definitely has to take his game to a different level. But he did look very good in those shots, very fluid. Like I said, he might turn out to be a better shooter than his father. But, then again, you never know when you're playing in your father's shadow. I mean, suppose Steph hadn't been able to separate himself from his father's legacy, from Dell's legacy,
Would have been difficult.
I mean, you don't hear, I think that's why you don't hear as much about Seth as you do about, I mean, and it's not that Seth is garbage. It's just the fact that there's a brother named Stephen.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it's not that he doesn't have talent. Ask the Brooklyn Nets. There's a reason why he's on the squad. He's actually performing better than another guy that we'll talk about later on. There was a pod. Well, I think it was on the NBA that usually has Charles and Kenny and Shaq's not there right now, but there's somebody else there. But anyway, Isiah was talking with Charles, and he was talking about his relationship with Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. And he said that, since Michael went on, and publicly called him an a-hole and other things that he said about him, and, the reason why he wasn't on the dream team and so forth.
Yeah.
So Isiah said that, well, since he made those remarks publicly, that he should publicly apologize. What do you make of the feud between MJ and Isiah? And should Isiah just let it go? I mean, come on. Mike is like Trump. This stuff just rolls off his back. Mike is going to be Mike. Mike has never apologized to anyone for him being Mike.
Right.
So what do you think about this idea that Isiah has that Mike should apologize to him publicly? Do we have a better chance of, turning SH into Shinola?
I do think he has a better chance of that, for one. And for two, has he apologized privately? Like, let's crawl before we walk here. If he ain't apologized privately, he definitely ain't apologizing publicly. So I think we need to start there to see if there is even any apology out there. And for two, or for third, I would say is kind of, I get why somebody wouldn't let something go, because it's them. It's them. So I understand, you were personally affected by this, so you're not going to be as quick to forget and forgive as the world is around you. But I do think the world has definitely moved on. So I understand where you may not have, and that's understandable to me. But I wouldn't be holding out for that apology, especially if there's not one privately hasn't came either. Wouldn't be holding out for a public one. And whether Isiah moves on or not, I feel like life has moved on. This is that All-Star game that he was left out of was how long ago? How long ago was that All-Star game? I want to say
it was at the Olympics, right?
Yes, and that's like early 90s, man, right?
The Dream Team, that was like
92-ish?
Somewhere around in there. Yeah, somewhere around in there.
Yeah. That was what, 30 years ago? I mean, life goes on. I understand where he's coming from, but life goes on, man. I don't think we're there anymore, to be honest with you.
I wonder now, who would you say talking about legacies, and we're not talking about legacies on the court, but how would you compare Mike's ownership of the Hornets to Isiah's leadership of the Knicks?
Man, well, I mean, garbage to garbage, right? Like, I mean, this is a horrible comparison. I mean, neither one achieved any success, but I will tell you the difference between Mike's success. And I really hope he doesn't sell the team, but he's going to make way more money. He's going to sell it. He bought it in the hundreds of millions, going to sell it in the billions. From a financial standpoint, that's a success you can take away from him owning the Hornets. Whereas there's nothing you could take away from Isiah with the Kings. I mean, with the Knicks, like that was just horrible. Like I heard he was with them so long because Dolan liked him or something, and he overstayed his tenure there. If nothing else, even though Mike wasn't able to field a winning team with the Hornets, not consistently anyway, they never really achieved. He did achieve from a business standpoint. You bought it in the hundreds of millions, you're going to sell it in the billions. That's an achievement. So at least there's some achievement he can take away from his ownership, whereas I don't think there's any for Isiah.
Yeah, and well, and not only that, as you said, I mean, the financial gain is there, but it's not like Isiah can say, that he had such a stellar achievement as the general manager.
No, not at all. Quite the opposite, actually.
Like you said, I think he lasted longer because it was the Knicks than he would have if it had been the Pistons. I mean, and Joe Dumars. I mean, when you
great executive Joe Dumars, by the way.
Right. I was just going to say, if you compare the job that Joe Dumars did in the same job as Isiah, quite a contrast.
Yes, for sure. Who would have thought?
Quite. There was another thing here. Yeah, the Nets. They're shutting down Ben Simmons for the rest of the season, including the playoffs. Do you think that Simmons will ever be an all-star again, or do you let alone that? Do you think he will be effective as a net, or do you think that him and the Nets will soon be parted, and it's only the financial obligation that's keeping him in a net uniform?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off my last answer to my last question as far as the public apology, and as in him, Isiah Thomas not getting his private apology. It's the same way with Ben Simmons here. Can you be a starter again? Can you be forget the all-star? Can you start, bro? Like, can you even start a certain amount of games again? When are we going to see you go to 67, about at least 65, 70 games? Because we know that NBA players aren't playing all 82 anymore. There's very few that are. But can you give us 60 to 70 consistently? Can you give us at least...
What about 50? Let's start with 50.
What he's been giving us, that'll be market improvement, which is unfortunate that we even got to say that. But 50 games will be a market improvement if he can give it to us and give us some consistency in there. I'm not saying he has to go back to being that 16 point per game guy that he was, but I mean, can you give us
dude? You got to give me more 13, points
14, than Seth. Something
you have to give me more points than Seth Curry.
Yes. I mean, Seth looking like a much better player right now than Ben Simmons, and the Ben Simmons situation is unfortunate only because it's not all attributed to his physical attributes and what he can do. Some of that's mental in there as well. So then if you're a team and you fix one of them, you fix the back or you fix whatever the physical element is, how do we know that the mental health element won't pop up again? With some people would have mental health issues, James, they're dealing with these issues for a lifetime. And I think his came at a certain time in his life where it might not be as severe as dealing with it for a lifetime, because some of those people have had those issues for a lifetime, literally. Whereas with him, this seemed to come more of him not shooting, Doc Rivers comments after the game, the playoff game with Atlanta. And he hasn't been right since then. So I think there's maybe some light at the end of the tunnel there, but there seems like so much more you have to do. So if you fix a mental health issue, you got to worry about his back, his physical health issue. You get him back in, you got to worry about, is he going to try to shoot? Is he going to try to get you at least 12 points, 12, 13, 14, 15 points? You know, is he going to at least try? Because once you overcome the mental health issues of just getting on the court, there's a mental health issues of not doubting yourself and feeling like you yourself can be what you used to be. So I don't know. This is a horrible contract. And I mean, it might be better for him not to be on the Nets. I think if the Nets, are going in a certain direction of rebuild land right now, James, which I really feel like the Nets are, why have him out there? Like, you already paid him the money. The money is what it is at this point. I don't see the point of having Ben out there. I was just waiting for him to go home. I don't even know if I want Ben showing up to the facility, to be honest with you. Like, what is he around for at this point?
Well, look, greetings, Mr. Scott. How are you doing this evening?
Very good, gentlemen. Very good, gentlemen. I've been down in the ATL.
Oh,
in
yeah.
In the land of big booties, in the land of everything was happening down there. Good food, grits and shrimp and grits. So yeah, I'm rejuvenated. I had to come back to the North, man. I wish I didn't have to, but I had to do it. JK3, it's good to see you. My ace spoon coon, the main man, JSK, the Punjab of Jabalpur. I mean, the Punjab of Jabalpur.
My
JK3,
main man. You know what they say when people start, talking, congratulating you and stuff, just right off the bat. So, I heard you got to go to a couple of games while you were down there. Were you impressed with the Hawks any?
I was not really impressed with the Hawks. I was really impressed with Memphis. I mean, those guys, man, I'm telling you, them cats come out there, they're like bodybuilders out there. I mean, you should see these cats, man. They just put their will on people. And then when Ja came out, oh, man, he did his thing. You know how I detest the rap mentality in the rap game. I detest that stuff. But I tell you, that young man, if he can get himself going, he's they got a good thing going down there in Memphis. They really do.
Okay. All right. And what you saw Memphis, and what was the other team?
Or the Hawks. No, it was Memphis and the Hawks. See, I was down there. First, I saw Indiana.
Yeah,
the Hawks. The next night it was Memphis. So I went to 2 games back to back.
Nice.
Okay. How impressed were you with the facilities?
Very much so. Very much so. It was packed, especially the Memphis game. A lot of Memphis people was in there. They traveled through the South.
It's pretty close.
See, that's the good thing about the South. They travel. They'll go back and forth. I mean, it's good weather. You're not going through no ice and snow, slipping and sliding like you are up here, all this old foolishness. And so it's just a whole different vibe. As a matter of fact, I may be relocating or getting another spot down there because
come on down, man. Come on down.
This is not happening up here. I'm telling you, it's happening down there.
Mr. Scott, I know exactly how you feel. I believe I was 58 when I moved out here to California. It's like at some point, the snow is good to look at, but it's not so good to live in. So yeah, I get my snow now at Monmouth. When I go see the Boxers.
Matter of fact, I went and saw one of my buddies down there, and I didn't realize my buddy Ray, he has been down there since 1978, which I didn't realize that because he's up here. We have things going on. He always comes back up here, and I see him a lot. And he said he came down there, and it was so great that he came up here and packed up all his stuff. And 1 month later, he was back down in Atlanta, never to return.
Yeah.
And that's about the way I feel. I mean, I'm about ready to put a for sale sign up on this house, and say, look,
I hear you. We were just talking about Ben Simmons and how the Nets say that they're about to shut him down for the rest of the year. What's your thoughts on Mr. Simmons?
Oh boy, what doesn't want to play? I mean, it's pretty simple. Right now, he doesn't want to play. He wants to get paid, but he doesn't want to play. And so, if you want to play that game with him, go ahead. He sits out what's wrong with him. But he knows. Well, he got back. No, it's his back. Well, didn't they have the back when they signed him? Didn't they go through a physical? Don't they go through all this stuff? Don't they see what their health is before they sign the contract? So, yeah, Ben Simmons doesn't want to play. And at this point, I could care less. I mean, the man don't want to play. So go do something else. If that's what you want to do. Take your money and go. Yeah. Sad state of affairs.
Now the Nets, the Blazers are also reportedly going to shut down Damian Lillard for the rest of the season. Mr. Scott, do you think this is fair to the fans that have supported the Trailblazers, and basically the only thing they come to watch is Dame Lillard because the team's not going anywhere? They're not going to the finals. They're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, what is there for the fans if not Dame Lillard?
Is he hurt? Why are they going to shut him down? Why? He doesn't want to play? What is it? I don't know. I didn't hear about an injury. I didn't hear anything about that.
He's not injured seriously. I mean, they all have nagging injuries at this time of year, but basically to preserve him for next year. Like I said, it would be different if Portland was going to the playoffs or, they were making some noise out west, but I guess it's the opposite. If we're not going to make the playoffs, why risk the health of our star? Kind of like that.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Well, if they want to shut him down, they can go ahead. But no, that's not how it works. I mean, if he's healthy, he should play. If shut him down, I've never heard of that before. Going to shut down at the end of the season to save you for next year. I've never heard any foolishness like that. See, they're going through all kinds of dumb stuff right now with all this injuries and rest and all this foolishness. You don't need no rest. Hell, you can pay big time of money and get your butt out there and play basketball. That's what you do. There's a whole lot of foolishness going on now, JK. And I just, I'm calling it what it is. And people are getting on people come to me and say, oh, God, you're so negative. Oh, you're so, no. I'm just telling it like it is. Get out there and play. You're getting paid this kind of money, and I got to rest. Oh, we're not in it no more, so I'm not gonna. No.
Yeah,
but you know what? No. And then what they used to do. I mean, there were times like when people like Bird, Jordan, these kind of guys got towards the end. Yeah, they had little supposed injuries where they would rest them so they could come back for the big games. And I understand that. I understand that. But this just resting for the heck of it and you're out of it. No, I don't get it. What do you guys think?
I think that they should lower that ticket price is what I think. If you're gonna put these people on, if you decide to take these guys off the court, adjust your ticket price for what the fans are coming to pay for. The fans are coming to pay for a product that they perceive that they see on the TV. They're being sold one thing. They get there and the guys in street clothes. They come to 1 or 2 games a year. Not everybody can come to all 40-something home games that teams have. You might get it together, get a family down there. They come down there for one game and they're being cheated out of it because guys are sitting in their street clothes. I really wish teams would adjust this across the board when they're deciding to do this for guys, because sometimes you don't even know. At least with the Blazers, we know. Sometimes you get there and it's a surprise. The one game that you come to see, I mean, guy's not even, maybe he didn't even make the flight. You don't even get to see him sit on the bench. So I'm not a big fan of this. It's not like the Blazers are in it. Dame did have an injury recently, but I don't see why. We're at 10 games left now, maybe
9, 10.
Finish your 9, 10 games and call it a day. Like, just finish the 9 and 10 up. You're already right there anyway. Just finish the 9 or 10 up. Give the fans what they came to see, because unfortunately in Portland, there's only one thing they're coming to see there. I love Jeremy Grant, who's on my fantasy team, but they're not coming to see Jeremy Grant. They're coming to see Dame Lillard.
Yeah,
and he's not there.
But Lillard also made some comments about the competitiveness and the statement of the NBA. And you just wonder if that's part of it. I mean, they're sitting him out. Maybe they're making a issue of him, or maybe they're making, but he made some statements about, what's going on, about people sitting out, about people, about the whole thing. Yeah, he made some statements about it. And now so they're going to shut him down. So if this is retaliation, I mean, it could very well be. I don't know. People don't have to listen to me. Like the great coach Denny Green said, the great thing about America is everybody can have an opinion. But what's even greater is you don't have to listen to it. So, I mean, that's,
Well, let's talk about your opinion of your Timberwolves. It seems like you're getting your guys back. Gobert is back. Edwards is back. What's your shot here? What are you thinking, Mr. Scott? You started out the season being really critical of Gobert, and then as the season went on, he kind of grew on you, and you realized that hey, this is who Rudy Gobert is, and now he's a member of our team. But you're getting Anthony Edwards back along with a couple other people. What's your chances out there, Mr. Scott? What are you thinking?
Well, what I'm thinking is this. You go to Golden State, whoop them. The next night you go to Sacramento, whoop them. It's on. It's on like neck bones now. You go and win back-to-back games like that on the road, on the West Coast. It's on like neck bones. Let's see what we can do. If we can get into the playoff, forget the play in. My cousin in the Hawks play in. You guys, because see, my backup team was the Lakers, and so I don't know what's happening with the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers, I hope they get in it, because they would be very interesting to be in the play. It would be very interesting to see what they do. I mean, I'd love to see it. But the Wolves, they look good. They're playing as a team. Their bench is good. They got Towns back, Edwards, Gobert. Let's run the table. Run the table on these people. Run the table on them.
Yeah. Well, that was your hope. Towns, Gobert, and Edwards. So we'll see. I see Jeffrey's here, so let's talk about this.
This is the big three, the new big three.
The new big three, huh?
Good evening, Jeffrey. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you all tonight?
Well, except for the absence of Tennessee, most of us are doing pretty well. But Jeffrey, what happened? Every team that we talked about last week is gone.
That is true. I think the only one we've got right was UConn.
UConn looks good, though. UConn looks pretty good.
Absolutely.
Well, right now they're the highest seed left in the tourney anyway. So, Jeffrey, let's talk about a couple of things. It seems like UNC's leading scorer has decided to enter the portal.
Yep.
What's that all about?
Yeah, Caleb Love decided to transfer. Yeah, North Carolina's got a lot of transition, a lot of roster turnover here. I think I counted 6 transfers, but they're getting Armando Baycock. He'll be back. RJ Davis, guard, is back. Yeah, but with Caleb Love, we talked about it a little bit last week. I think there was just a chemistry issue with that team, and Hubert Davis and Caleb Love. I don't think they really saw eye to eye on how he was being used, and it just as well as he played last year in the NCAA tournament, it just didn't seem like a good fit this year. And I mean, I don't think he's leaving with huge hard feelings. I don't think he was forced out or anything like that. But I just think he needs a new place, and in the right system, I think he could really flourish because he's a talented player. Uh, but trying to recreate what they had last year in the NCAA tournament, I think just led to a lot of chemistry issues, and just a new location for him, I think will do a lot of good. But I mean, he's a really talented player. But they had all kinds of issues in their half court offense, and one of them was Caleb Love maybe forcing a few too many shots.
Okay. Do you see a transfer in or a possible freshman that's going to come in to take his place?
Yeah, right now I know they looked at a couple players. I think it was from Brown, but I mean they've got so much roster turnover right now that I think Hubert Davis is he's just hunting all over the portal right now to rebuild that roster. They got a lot of holes to fill, but they got Baycock back, and that was one of the big keys.
Jeffrey, what did you think about Shrewsbury taking over the Notre Dame job?
Yeah, I think it was a good hire. It was a good hire for Notre Dame. I mean, he was a pretty successful. He kind of rebuilt that Penn State program, and I think it was to replace Mike Bray, who had been so successful at Notre Dame. I mean, you've got some pretty big shoes to fill there. But I do think that was a good hire. I mean, to pull a coach that had just went to the NCAA tournament, had done pretty well there. I think it was a good hire for Notre Dame.
Okay. We talked about the Hurricanes, and they did come through. They're in the Final Four. Jeffrey, do you think Mo is on the Hurricane side here against probably the best team left in the Final Four? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do think so. Miami really was on a mission this year. After getting knocked out of the tournament in the Elite Eight, getting blown out by Kansas. They had Pat coming in from Kansas State, Isaiah Wong returning, and Nortrad Omer he's just been an absolute force in the post, and they've got a very legitimate chance to win the national championship. I mean, I know UConn is loaded at times this year. They look like the best team in the country. Earlier in the year when they were knocking off, I think they blew out Alabama by 15 earlier in the year. A lot of people call them the best team in the country at that time, and they had a little bit of a down January, and then they get here to March. I mean, they're just rolling over teams. Teams that people have said had pretty good defenses too. Like Arkansas. I mean, a lot of people felt like that was going to be a team that could beat UConn, and they just erased the Razorbacks. But I think what Miami brings with their guard play, their ability to score from several different positions on the floor, it's going to give them an opportunity against anyone they play left in this Final Four. And of course, Jim Larinaga, he's a Hall of Famer. He's took George Mason to the Final Four, in 2006, and what a great way to cap his career if he'd win a national title. So the Canes got a ton of momentum. They're playing well. They always say guards win in March, and they've got plenty of them. UConn's not going to be any easy task. And I mean, the Huskies are probably the favorite, but I mean, Miami definitely should go in there thinking, hey, let's not be happy getting to the Final Four. We can win the whole thing.
Well, as you said, talking about UConn, they are the highest seed left in the tournament, and they're a 5-point favorite in the championship series. Jeffrey, are you taking the over or under, which is, let's see, the over-under is 149 points, 149.5. And do you think that UConn is the best overall team left in the tournament?
Yeah, I kind of like the over in that one because, we saw what Miami did to Houston. I mean, Houston was one of the best defensive teams in the country, and they absolutely had no chance of stopping Miami from scoring. And you're not going to stop Miami from scoring. You might beat them, but you're not going to be able to stop them from scoring. They're just too good on the offensive end of the court. And by that same token, they're not a great defensive team. And we know, UConn has the ability to score too. So I kind of like the over in that one, because Miami, the way they beat you is to put so much pressure on your offense. You're trying to keep up with them the whole time. And I know UConn they've got size. They can defend the three. They got some NBA future players on their team. But I think I foresee kind of a high scoring game there. And I do think UConn does go in as the favorite. We talked about it back in November. I mean, they were playing as well as anybody in college basketball. And, they played in a great conference in the Big East, lost a few games there. But I mean, when they're right, they very well could have been, better than any of the number one seeds we had going. Only that lull that they had in January kept them as a 4 seed. I mean, they're a really, really good basketball team that probably didn't get as much credit as they should have coming into the tournament. So, yeah, I like the over. I do like UConn. If you're looking, I think the spread is like 5.5. I think it's going to be really close though, and I don't think UConn's going to cover that 5.5. I don't see them blowing out Miami. Miami just is too efficient scoring the ball. I'm expecting a nip and tuck game that gets down to the final minutes.
Yeah. Right now, Jeffrey, it's down to 5 on DraftKings. Reggie, did you get a chance to watch any games? What were your thoughts on Miami or Connecticut, if you got a chance to watch either of those?
I watched some of the games. I'm not really huge into NCAA basketball until I get to this point. So that's why I think I deferred to Jeffrey last time and kind of got more excited when he said it was going to be a good tournament, because I have to listen to people like him who are going to say it's going to be good. If he says it's going to be good, then I'm like, all right, great. We'll see what happens here. And it hasn't disappointed. I've been surprised if I've watched more than I thought I was going to watch. But I can't really speak on any specific team as far as who I feel is going to. It'd be horrible advice if anybody was to take my advice on who I feel is going to actually win this thing, because all the people that I even thought had a shot were out. So it's kind of none of them are in there anymore. But I think that's more entertaining, and I'm interested to see
Houston. I wanted Houston. I thought Houston was going to do it.
Right. Because a lot of times when a new favorite seemed to get established, they would get knocked out. so now UConn is the only favorite that seems to be left.
Yeah, I actually had Houston and Alabama meeting in the finals. So much for what I knew. Mr. Scott, what's been your impression of this year's tournament?
Well, my whole impression just, kind of centers around one game, because, with all the sports and all the stuff, all the stuff that I'm doing, it's kind of hard to keep up with everything. But I was really watching Purdue when they had the Goliath in the middle, the great Goliath, 7-4, 7-3. And they went right out in the first round. And now I was like, I think that was a harbinger of what's going to happen with this thing, the Goliath. And then the coach was so dumb. Why don't you go to him at the end of the game? He didn't touch the ball in the last quarter hardly. He didn't touch the ball. Why don't you go to Goliath to go ahead and get the, so that's the only thing I was really looking at. I really wanted to see how good Purdue was, how good Goliath was, if he could move through the thing. And he went out right away. And then, of course, you knew the team that beat him, Farley FD, you knew they were going in the next game. That's just perfunctory. You could have just you could have gone to the bank with that and say that they're not going to win no more. So that's, I don't know. Number one's out. I love this. I really wish I had been doing some betting on this because, see, I love the underdogs. I go with the underdogs all the time. I take the points. Yeah, give me points. I don't care who you are. Give me the points. I take them. That's how I do it. So.
It's not too late to get down on Florida Atlantic. Jeffrey, your thoughts on Florida Atlantic?
They can play. They can definitely play. They are a deep basketball team, and I mean, they got guys who can score from every position on the floor. And we saw them against Memphis. I mean, they were within an eyelash of losing that game to Anthony Hardaway's Memphis team, and they just kept marching through. And what was interesting was that game against Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee, when they played Duke, I mean, they physically overwhelmed Duke, a talented Duke team, but a young Duke team. And, they kind of bullied Duke in that game physically. They couldn't do that at all against Florida Atlantic. And I think San Diego State is going to try to do the same thing. They're kind of a rock fight type of team, defensive, that I think that's going to try to do some of the same things Tennessee did. Maybe not to that extent. Rick Barnes and Tennessee are on a totally different level when they try to do some of their what they do on the court physically. We'll just leave it at that. But I think that really prepared Florida Atlantic to play San Diego State as that Tennessee game, because you're going to have to beat Florida Atlantic by outscoring them, which I don't see San Diego State doing, because that's not a great scoring team as good as they are defensively. And whoever if they face if Miami or Connecticut faces Florida Atlantic, I mean, they're going to be in an absolute battle. I think of the two, San Diego State and Florida Atlantic is the one out of those two that I think could really win the national championship.
Wow.
I don't think San Diego State could pit two back-to-back games and win it all. They may, but I don't think so. But out of those two, I mean, Florida Atlantic, they are capable of doing it. That's a really, really good basketball team. They were probably underseeded as a 9. I think they're something like 35-3. They probably should have been closer to a 6 or a 7.
Might have been 35-2 now, but anyway, I understand what you're saying about Florida Atlantic, and me being one of those guys that's railed against all this offensive power. I think San Diego scored 62 points in their victory, and Florida Atlantic scored 58 points in their victory. So I'm looking forward to a hard defensive game, and I don't really see as far as player-wise, I don't really see an outstanding player that gives either team that much advantage. So I think it'll be a very hard-fought game, and I think it'll be a very low-scoring game. As a matter of fact, when talking about that game, the over or under for that game is, I believe it was 138 points. My question to you, Jeffrey, is: do you think that the winner of that game between the Aztecs and the Owls, do you think that the winner will score over or under 65 points?
I think for San Diego State to win, they're gonna have to be the team that keeps it under 65. So if San Diego State wins that game, then they've probably won it in a low 60s, high 50s type game. And Florida's Atlantic, I think if you see them winning it, I think they can also win a low scoring game, but they're more likely to win a game that gets into the upper 60s or so. And they've proven, like you said, they won a low scoring game, but I think Florida Atlantic is more capable of being the team that can go either way on the scoring, in the type of game it becomes. I think San Diego State has to have a low scoring game. I think Florida Atlantic can win either way, and San Diego State is going to do everything they can to turn that game into a rock fight, and I think Florida Atlantic will be okay with that. So I think I'm going to go with the under on that one. What you said, it was 135 or 130?
139, I believe, is the over under.
139.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll see a game in the in the mid 60s, low 60s. That 139 is looking at like a 70-39 type or 70-69 type game, and I do think San Diego State, they're gonna find a way to keep that game at the tempo they want to play. I just think Florida Atlantic can play that way, and comes out of that game with a win.
Yeah, I'm trying to see here now. The over under for, let's see, 132 is the over under for that game.
Okay, 132. Yeah, that's
I mean, it's only a 2-point difference as far
Yeah.
as the bookies are concerned. San Diego State is a 2-point favorite. UConn is a 5.5-point favorite. But so Jeffrey, we're down to the final four. So you have Florida Atlantic on one side. You haven't given us the winner between UConn and Miami.
I do think it'll be Connecticut. They're just playing so well right now. I mean, and I think they just have a little bit higher of a ceiling that they can get to, that maybe a gear that Miami doesn't have. I mean, I definitely would not be surprised at all if Miami won the game. They're very capable of doing that. But I just think Connecticut has a gear that maybe Miami can't quite reach. We'll have to see, but I do anticipate Connecticut and Florida Atlantic. So for ACC, I'd like to see Miami come out of there, and they're capable of it. But I'm looking at UConn coming out.
So Monday night, UConn cuts down the Nets.
Yeah, I think so. I think Florida Atlantic will give them a great battle. But I see Connecticut cutting down the Nets, winning another national title.
Who is your MVP
of the tournament so far?
Yes.
Oh wow. I probably would have went with even though they got knocked out, the Noel out of Kansas State. Just from where Kansas State was picked at the beginning of the year, new coach, Jerome Tang, and they get all the way to the Elite Eight, and I really I really thought that Kansas State was going to be in the Final Four after last week. I mean, he just carried Kansas State through that bracket to the Elite Eight. Um, of the remaining players right now in the tournament, Isaiah Wong has been really good for Miami. Um, but through the Elite Eight until they got knocked out, it was probably the Noel out of Kansas State. I was really kind of surprised they lost that game, but he carried that team all the way through that bracket.
Jeffrey, let's see. I had another question I want to ask you. It wasn't really related, but it does have a little bit to do with Notre Dame. And this is that the Notre Dame administrators have called for the creation of an NFL minor league and an elimination of the NBA's one and done. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Notre Dame is onto something here?
I don't see the one and done going away. I think it's one of those things you see like college administrators say certain things to try to hold on to maybe the way that they've done things in the past, and or kind of steer it back to a way that they've wanted it to be. And I don't see that happening. I think you'll always have one and done. I don't see it going away. I think if you have bigger changes in college athletics, it would be in the form of the pay for play. But as far as what Notre Dame is suggesting, yeah, I don't see one and done going away.
And what about the creation of a minor league for the NFL? Or are we done with that? After the NFL Europe experiments, and now we have the XFL and all of these adult Pop Warner leagues, as I call them. I mean, what's your thoughts there, Jeffrey?
I mean, you've seen, like you said, with some of that World Football League and some of the arena leagues, and it's a pretty good deal for the NFL. I mean, they have to have the college players, stay 3 years. I mean, it's a great feeder system for them, and they don't have to subsidize it in the way they did some of the World Football League stuff. So I don't really, if a minor league does kind of form, I still don't, it's not going to be like minor league baseball where the best high school players are going to the minor leagues, and some of them are going to college. I always see a college football being the main feeder system into the NFL.
Well, hey, as always, Jeffrey, glad to get your insights. And we'll see what happens with Miami. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to you next week. Miami will either be crowned or you'll be talking about the Connecticut game.
Yeah.
So give us your final thoughts for the evening. Tell everybody where they can find you, and we look forward to talking to you at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we've talked all year, I think the ACC again, had that negative national narrative against them over the course of the whole season. But here we are again. They have another team in the Final Four, the only, major conference, playing in the Final Four. No, well, I would say the Big East is also a very strong conference, but they're not typically part of that Power Five that they talk about. So, it's just another year that went by that the ACC was kind of underappreciated, because of the bottom of the conference was very poor. Louisville was really bad. Florida State really struggled out of conference, but people that watched the ACC knew that its top teams could play with anyone in the country, and we thought that last year, had 2 teams in the Final Four. See it again this year, another team in the Final Four. So, you know, it might not be the ACC that you had in like the 1990s or in some of its super glory years, but it's still a pretty formidable basketball conference. But as always, enjoy being on the show. You can find me at Talking ACC Sports and blogging about the tournament. And and quick thought: check out, if you haven't had the chance, the women's Final Four is going to be fantastic. South Carolina, undefeated.
LSU.
LSU, exactly. Virginia Tech from the ACC making their first Final Four. Caitlin Clark, a lot of people have her as the women's college basketball player of the year, playing Dawn Staley and those South Carolina Gamecocks. That should be a really compelling, great Final Four to watch. But you can find me at allsportsdiscussion.com and Talking ACC Sports. And as always, enjoy being on the show.
All right, Jeffrey, you have a great night, man. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Gentlemen, now that you've got Jeffrey's advice, you can go and fill out your Final Four brackets there. What do you guys think about that Notre Dame idea of subsidizing the NFL, subsidizing a minor league team and doing away with the one and done? Do you agree with Jeffrey that the one and done is here to stay, or what, Reggie?
Oh, so we're talking about NBA. We're talking about NFL. I'm not really getting. Are we talking about the
the Notre Dame administration is saying that they want, or they feel that eventually the one and done will be gone, and they're calling for a creation of an NFL minor league system. So, number one, like I said, with all of the other football leagues and what that we have already started, and the NFL Europe was supposed to do this. It was supposed to be that transition between the pros and the guys that weren't quite ready yet. Do you think that the one and done is here to stay as far as the college, or do you think that we're going to eventually go back to the system where you have to play so many years of college, where you have to be a certain age before you can come out?
Well, I think Jeffrey made a great point. If the NFL already views the current system as a system that gives them players every year without them having to pay any money for it, why would they pay money for another system? It doesn't make any sense. And also, you already have all these other leagues. I can't keep up with all these leagues. Like how many leagues are there going to be? Is there going to be? Do they go into the XFL? Does the XFL player then go into the NFL? Like I can't keep up with these guys. I feel like the way that scouting is done these days, they know about these kids coming up in middle school. They've seen them a million times before they've ever got to this point. I don't think there's a need for another minor league situation when kind of you're already getting what you want without having to pay the money.
What do you think, Mr. Scott?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they already got a minor league. They already got with the college, and they can already get guys out of there. I mean, look at the great the coach the Vikings had, the great Bud Grant. I mean, he played in the NBA, he played in the NFL, and I think he might have been went to the All-Star game in the NFL as a player. And Canada. See, before it was just Canada. You could go up there and you could come back. Look at Warren Moon, had to go to Canada for I don't know how long he was up there. I mean, he set records up there before they didn't even give him a shot. So they've already got their minor leagues. They've already got all this. They're just greedy. They just want more. They just want more and more. So, no, they don't need no more. The colleges is fine. they just need to say if it's 1 year. I mean, to me, if you're good enough, hell, you don't even have to go to college. I mean, some of the, like I say, some of the guys that are good, let them go ahead and start making that money if that's what they want to do. They have the ability to do it. So it's just about control. You know, these people, you know, that's the name of their game. You know, control, and you know, don't look how long these college players have gone. They don't get paid. They wasn't getting paid for all these years selling out. I went to Ohio State Stadium and met my distant cousin, Mr. Bill Willis, you know, Hall of Famer, blah, 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 and went to and saw the stadium at Ohio State, 100 and some thousand people.
Yeah.
100 and some, and they draw that. And then when I'm in Detroit to see my sister, Michigan State, I wanted to go to a game. Those stadiums, 100,000. I couldn't get a ticket. I could not get in the game. It was full.
No,
so they making money. So, you know, that's the name of their game, is making money.
And most of those teams that you mentioned, you probably won't be able to get a ticket in 2025.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Stand in line. Grow great. Your beard grow to the ground for you waiting for them to, you know. Ridiculous.
Mr. Scott, no teams, not one, has expressed any type of interest in a trade for Lamar Jackson. Are you surprised that Lamar Jackson isn't getting touted more heavily? I mean, look at the Colts. You know, there are a few teams that you could just. The Falcons have just said it, and we'll talk about that later. Have just said that they weren't in the market for Lamar Jackson. I mean, really, there's no market for Lamar Jackson, Mr. Scott?
Collusion. It's called collusion. You ever heard of that word, collusion?
I told you I've been on the other side of that justice system. I know very well what collusion is.
And that's why, you know, they're not going to let him. They're not going to let him pull a Deshaun Watson on them no more. They're not going to fall for that anymore. And so, yeah, he can holler and he wants out and he wants. But yeah, they're putting the clamps down on that. You know, he's not going to be a Deshaun Watson and get guaranteed $250 million. And that's what he's saying. If he can get that, well, why can't I get it? Well, that's you know, it's all about timing. It's all about. So no, I actually there have been rumors that the Vikings wanted to flip Cousins to them to get him. But I don't know why they would do that, because he's really not a passing quarterback. You know, you got Jefferson. You got to throw Jefferson the ball. You got to throw, you know, you got that tight end now. You got a passing attack here. They're talking about getting rid of Dalvin Cook. They don't want to pay him. You know, and keep Madison be the main back. So I don't know whether Lamar should just stay where he is and just tell these people to pay him. They seem like they want him. I mean, he's a good quarterback for everything's been built around him on that team. Another team, he's not a passing guy. He's not a real, you know, so I don't know. These guys, these agents, I mean, what in the world are they doing? They seem to be stupid to me. Hell, get him a contract somewhere, even if it's back in Baltimore. These agents.
He don't have an agent.
Yeah, he is his agent. That's the problem. That's one of the
problems.
problems.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is his mom his agent? Is that what it is? Is he the one? His mom is the agent?
Yeah. His mom is his agent. That's the problem. His mom is his agent, and she's not certified to be an agent. She doesn't have the credentials to be an agent. So she can only talk, but she's not allowed to talk contract, because she doesn't have the credentials. But going even further, though, Reggie, the owner of your team, Mr. Blank, you guys just named Ritter as your starting quarterback,
Mhm.
and you're saying that the pursuit of Deshaun Watson, which you guys were highly a part of, is not the same as the pursuit for Lamar Jackson. Are you buying that these are two different situations here, or what's your thought on Mr. Blank's explanation for not going after Lamar?
Well, I was hoping we were going to get to the question because I'm going to get out of here after this. And I was really hoping we were going to get to this question because this Lamar Jackson situation, to me, I don't know where he's getting his advice from. I'm not sure because even when you looked at the 3 years, 133. So he's saying that they had 3 years, 133 million guaranteed on the table for him. That puts him at about roughly 40 something million per year. At the age of 25, I would have jumped on that 3 years, took that 3 years guaranteed and re-upped at 28. Even if I got to re-up for another 2 to 3 year guarantee contract at 28, it's not old.
Make sure you get a no clause contract.
Another thing too that I think that people kind of gloss over, and the reason why I did not want him here in Atlanta. And the reason I did not want him in Atlanta is, for one, if you're paying a $40 or $50 million quarterback, you better be ready to win now. And I didn't envision us as a win now team. You need to be ready to win if you're paying a quarterback $40 to $50 million in a hard cap league. You need to have the pieces around them. And if you're a team that's kind of on a rebuild, I don't think you deserve a $50 million quarterback. You're on a rebuild. Like, what are you doing paying one guy this much money when your team just sucks around him? Is not great. So that's one thing. Another thing too, that I like the fact that Ritter is on a rookie contract, so that makes it a little bit easier to swallow me. I don't really know what we have with the kid. I'm not saying he's in the same league as Lamar Jackson. And if Lamar Jackson could stay healthy, which is another thing I think that's really being glossed over here. If you're negotiating from the bench, if you're negotiating from street clothes, it's not a good negotiating position because the last time we saw you're negotiating from street clothes. You missed 10 games in the last 2 seasons. I'm not sure why this is not discussed. I'm allergic to paying guaranteed money to guys who've missed a third of the season the last 2 seasons, because then if he turns around and misses a third of the season the next season, whose fault is that? Because you signed a guy that had missed a third of the season last season, missed a third of the season before that, and then decided to pay the guy X amount of dollars guaranteed. And another thing, when they bring up this Cleveland contract, that's a horrible contract. I'm not sure who is saying this Cleveland contract is a great contract, and who looks at the Cleveland Browns as the shiny team on the hill. They're the Cleveland Browns. I'm not repeating anything they do. I'm not taking any kind of pointers from the Cleveland Browns and any executive decisions that they make. How is that working out for them right now? They paid this guy $230 million to come in there, and it's not working out for them.
And now they might have to restructure his contract.
Just to do what? Just to be mediocre. So it's kind of like, why would you, if you're other teams around the league, let me bite the Kansas City way. I'll bite the way that the Patriots did it for a long time. The Ravens, the thing is about the Ravens in the last 20 years have had like 4 to 5 losing seasons in the last 20 years. They were a winning team before Lamar got there. They'll probably be a winning team when he leaves. They were already a winning franchise. If anything, I would do like Mr. Scott is saying and stay home. Why leave? Why leave a winning franchise that's putting everything around you and is willing to pay you $40 million a year for the next 3 years? If you feel like you're going to be healthy and you feel like you can play out that contract, bet on yourself. Take that 40 for 3 and re-up at 28 and take another 40 at 3. And now you've got 260. You know what I mean? Like, you see, as much as people might knock Kirk Cousins, when Washington was giving him all those franchise tags, he got rich. Kirk Cousins got rich on those franchise tags because he kept betting on himself and taking those tags and then outplaying the tag. If I'm Lamar, I do the same thing. I take the tags and then I outplay the tags and I re-up again at 28. Now you owe me 150. You pay me 133, then I'll play these games. You owe me 150. Now I'm almost $300 million for 6 years. Like, well, I don't know why that's such a bad deal. I think we're kind of spoiled to think that somehow $40 million a year is a bum. Like, you're in a doghouse. Like, you suck. Like, you think you deserve more. You want teams to make bad deals because Cleveland Browns made a horrible deal. So you feel like now every other team should go out and make that deal. I'm glad that for one in Atlanta that we're not entertaining it. If it was talent-wise, guys, and I knew he would stay on the field, I don't mind paying the guy. But you haven't stayed on the field in years. Why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
One other thing I'd like for you to address before you go, Reggie, and that's this players and the NFL giving the right to wear number 0.
That's interesting.
I mean, I've never, and maybe I missed something, but since Super Bowl I, I've never seen a player that argued that I can't play because I want number 0.
Yeah, I didn't know. Of all the things that's out there, I'm not sure why this was pressing to get done. I'm glad it got done. I don't know what this does for the game in any capacity. I see you said that Calvin Ridley, if he was to wear that 0, because I'm used to wide receivers wearing numbers in the 80s. Like, do they not do that anymore? Can anybody just wear any number now? Like, is that the situation?
No, there's specific positions that can wear 0. Wide receiver is 1, DB is 1.
Backs probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I don't know why anybody would be fighting over the number 0. Maybe number 0 means something to somebody playing through high school, college, something like that. But when I saw this, I was met this news with a big meh. Like, okay, I don't. This doesn't move the meter for me one way or the other for watching these games.
Give us your final thoughts. We only got a few more minutes to go. Give us your final thoughts.
Well, for one, hoping that we get a good Final Four. Hoping the Final Four has been like the rest of the tournament has been. I've been having a lot of fun watching these kids go out there and play. So here's a hoping we get that. And here's a hoping that we can actually finish the NBA season with stars actually playing the games. Like it's gotten so crazy now that I don't know from night to night what I'm going to see on the court. And here's a hoping as we get down the stretch here going into the playoffs, we actually start to see more NBA players playing. But according to the Lillard situation, that's not headed in the right direction. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll see that, fellas, but definitely appreciate you having me on as usual. Check me out, reginatl.com, justastats.com, and thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah. So now you're in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was just down there and went to Thumbs Up breakfast with Bronny. Okay. Oh, I mean, I had the, grits, shrimp and grits, catfish breakfast. Oh, yeah. Good Lord. I mean, server was just beautiful. She was just, she just took care of me. And, I loved your town. I love your little town.
City, guys, I'll tell you that right now. It's a lovely place to be.
It's a very, very, 75 wearing shorts down there, and they come back here to this snow and tundra and all this foolishness.
Yeah, man, 60 degrees. We're freezing down here.
Yeah, then I went to Morehouse. See, my cousin, he just brags about all this Morehouse stuff. See, I don't, I'm not impressed by it. But we went over to the campus and they had a track meet. And Edward Moses was there.
Mm-hmm.
And you run people like that. We went by the Tyler Perry studios. I was going to try to talk to Tyler Perry. I said, you can put me in one of these things. He, but you can't get to him. I was there, but so I like the little town. I'm going to be back. I'm going back to defend my WIST title. People want me to come back to defend it. And so I told him, you got to beat people. You can't just get title shots. Just
you got to earn it.
You got to earn the title shot. So, so I'll be back in your town. And next time I come, I tried to get Dr. Casey. I sent the lure out, but I didn't hear from her. But when I come back, maybe I'll get together with you.
Yeah, no doubt. Hit me up, man. We'll definitely meet up when you come back down here.
Well, Mr. Scott, why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening and tell us where you think your Timberwolves are heading? What's ahead for you?
Man, my final thoughts, man. When I was in the ATL and I was at the game watching the Hawks and Ja, and the Wolves had just already won at Golden State. They beat them there. And the next night they had to go to Sacramento, who's one of the top teams, and then they went there and knocked them off. So now I'm scrambling around here now to see I can get some tickets for the next home games because I usually see my good buddy there. See, my kids went to school with Larry Fitzgerald. I don't know if you guys heard Larry Fitzgerald, but his dad is always at the game.
I think I recall hearing somebody by that name.
Yeah, he's a guy that sits at the game. So when we go, we always talk with Larry. So I'm gonna try to get some tickets out. Timberwolves, they get in the playoffs. They got a big three. Towns is rested. Looks like he's ready to go. Gobert, this thing, look like they're putting it together. Hey, everything's in disarray. I mean, look at Dallas. You know, they get Kyrie. Oh, and he's all over. Great player, but mentally, you know, is he a team guy? Is he, where is his mind at? Who knows? So
maybe if they curved the basketball court. You know,
what?
Since the earth is flat, maybe if they curved the basketball court.
So
we're not concerned about him. So the Timberwolves are looking good. They're focused on doing this thing. And hey, who's above them in the West? Who's above them in the West? Phoenix? You know, they're up and down. They kind of like, they're all up and down in the now the East, you know, where you got Milwaukee, you got Boston. I mean, you got some, you know, you got. Are we worried about Denver? No, not at all. Why would you be worried about Denver?
That's crazy.
They ain't that good. So yeah, Timberwolves. I'm looking for some big things from these Timberwolves. Very big things in the West.
All right, guys. Well, hey, very good talking a little sports with everyone. I look forward to talking again in your case, Reggie, not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, probably on a week after.
Yeah, and Mr. Scott, it would be interesting to see where your Timberwolves are going. And for me, it should be very interesting to see who stinks the most, the Clippers or the Lakers?
A race to the bottom.
So have a great night, everyone. I'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Oh, man. All right.